What's up, guys? It's Rob here, and today we're going to be talking about Sundial stock, ticker symbol SNDL, a stock that I'm hugely bullish on, but that has been falling over the past day. And you can see exactly how far it's been falling. If you take a look at the chart right here, you can see that we are down somewhat significantly on the day. Now, there is a reason for this that's important to understand. And there are some reasons why I'm not very worried about this, why I think we'll be moving up big in the next couple of days and weeks. But just hear me out. So the first reason, which I'll address, is why we're falling big, right? The reason that we're falling is actually because of something called a gap fill. Now, it's a technical pattern that a lot of traders tend to look at because it is very effective at predicting future price movements. And you can actually see right here that we had a gap up on this day. And a gap up, for those of you who don't know, is when you have a high on the previous day and a low on the next day that are very far apart from each other when there is no bar connecting these two points, essentially, right? So the high of the previous day is much lower than the low of the next day. So that's a gap right there. And we've got one on Sundial because they pumped up on great earnings news. They blew earnings out of the water. They were profitable. They were making money. And they were looking like a very strong company. They announced a share buyback. So they obviously gapped up. Now, what's interesting to note is that oftentimes gaps get filled. In fact, you can look at some statistics, and someone actually ran a study. They fetched historical stock price data from 30 Dow Jones Industrial Components from Yahoo, dated back all the way to 1989. So they had 24 years of data that they looked at, and they only studied the up gaps, which is what happened with Sundial, right? Sundial went through an up gap right here, gapped up. And what they found was that when a stock price gaps up, it has a 91% chance of filling the gap, okay? And that means moving down and making some more stock bars cover the distance between the high and the low, right? Which is actually what's happening with Sundial right now. We haven't quite filled it yet. Once we get to around 72.8 cents, we will have technically filled that gap. So we are very close to doing that. And it's finally happening for Sundial, right? A lot of us were thinking that it might not happen because the news for Sundial was so bullish that there was such huge potential for a short squeeze, for a gamma squeeze, and for the share buybacks to take effect before it would have a chance to fill the gap. But it's looking like that's not the case, right? Sundial has moved down. However, the good news is that the fact that the gap is getting filled and is potentially going to be filled today, if we move down just a little bit lower, we just need to move down to this line right here to fill the gap, or even a little bit higher than this line would technically fill it. That Sundial can then stop worrying about that technical pattern and start moving up again. And there are a bunch of catalysts that could get Sundial moving up in the near future. Most notably, a short squeeze, right? Shorts are a big problem for Sundial. You can see that as a percentage of the free float, 17% of the shares are short. 352 million shares are short on Sundial. And I can't understand how greedy these shorts are being. I mean, it's impossible to really fathom how greedy they're being, just shorting Sundial to oblivion, knowing that Sundial is becoming a much better company on a fundamental level, that there are share buybacks coming, yet they are still shorting this thing. I suppose trying to play into the gap fill. Maybe they'll start covering once it fills the gap. And potentially, they'll have to start covering when Sundial starts doing share buybacks, which we will talk about in just a second. But what's important to note about the short interest is that they are almost maxed out, right? They have a 98.46% utilization rate, which means they have pretty much shorted all the shares of Sundial that they can. There's very few shares left to short, so we don't have to worry too much more about shorts pushing us down. What's most likely happened is, yes, shorts have increased their positions over the past couple of days. They've pushed us down a bit. People have been selling as they've seen Sundial moving down. But what's important to note is that we are about to fill that gap, and that technical pattern, that 9 out of 10 chance that we are going to fill the gap, is about to be met. So fine, so be it. We'll fill the gap, and hopefully we can start moving up after that. And there's a reason why, it would be ideal, actually, if we filled this gap today instead of tomorrow, because tomorrow is a day that we could potentially be pumping on. And here's why. For those of you who have not been following the channel, Sundial has announced that they will be repurchasing up to $100 million worth of stock from their company, right? They announced this on the day that they pumped up huge. And the first day that they're going to be able to start doing this is on November 19th. You can see right here, it says the share repurchase program will commence on November 19th, 2021 and expire November 19th, 2022. So they have 1 year to buy back these shares, and they can start doing it tomorrow. So there is a real chance that they will want to buy up these Sundial shares cheap. They can see that Sundial has been downtrending over the past couple of days. They may want to end that. They may want to show some support for Sundial, bounce off of this gap fill, and start moving Sundial up potentially in time for a gamma squeeze, right? If we could get up above $1, which is at this point a bit of a long shot, we would have to rise about 25 cents or 33% of the stock price to end up getting above $1. Where we are now, we're at 75 cents right now. We could potentially get these 222,000 open interest call options in the money and really gamma squeeze some institutions who were not banking on those expiring in the money at all whatsoever, right? They do not expect Sundial to surge 33%. That is a long shot, I will say. It does not seem super likely that we'll surge 33%. Unless maybe Sundial ended up buying back all of the available shares that they could on that day. But I think that they'll more strategically probably try to spread it out over time, right? They might start buying tomorrow, but there's no guarantee that they're going to spend a ton of money on shares tomorrow or that they'll spend any, right? There's no guarantee that they're actually going to start buying back their shares, but it is when they are first allowed to start their share repurchase program. So there is a chance that they will start doing it on Friday, and we'll see what happens tomorrow when the market opens. Feel free to join us in the live streams at 9. Now, it will also be interesting to see what happens with Sundial trend-wise, because you can see they obviously had an initial massive pump up in price, an initial pump up in search volume when the price was initially pumping up, when they were actually hitting highs of around $1. That's when the price was pumping up big, and so was the search volume. A lot of people were looking into Sundial, and a lot of people were buying it. However, over the weekend, it was almost inopportune timing because a lot of the interest faded away over the weekend, and you can see that we opened up with much lower search volume than we were hoping for. Ideally, Sundial would have opened up with similar search volume, and we would have continued moving up in price as well. However, that didn't happen. We ended up moving down mostly on Monday, and have continued that downtrend until today, which is Thursday, and you can see the same has been seen in the Google Trends data. Now, it will be interesting to see tomorrow if we get a lot more searches going on for Sundial, if they start moving up big, if we've filled the gap, and if Sundial starts announcing a share repurchase. That would actually be really good news. If they announce that they're starting to buy back some shares, that would most likely help Sundial pump up quite a bit, not just price-wise, but also trend-wise. I think that people would start searching for it a lot more. We might get some more posts for it on Reddit and Wall Street Bets, which you can see right here, is actually not great for Sundial at the moment. You have to scroll down quite a bit before you get to Sundial at spot number 29, where it only has 70 mentions on Reddit and 428 upvotes, so not all that much considering the fact that we were up close to spot number 10 in the past when we were initially pumping. We were actually up to spot number 6, I believe, was the highest that we got on our initial run-up, and if we'd broken $1 and started moving up past that, I could see us having gotten much, much higher. But we'll just have to see what happens with the share repurchase. If we can't get some more people posting about Sundial stock on Reddit, that would be very nice, and also maybe trending on StockTwit's most active as well. We were up here at one point, however, we are no longer trending on the most active. It's given up its place to other stocks like Prog, Lucid, and AMC. But another catalyst that we need to talk about, which could really be moving Sundial up in the future, which we've already discussed on the channel. So those of you who have already seen it, this might be just a bit of a refresher for you. But for those of you who haven't, there is a Republican-led legalization bill for marijuana that is being touted as an option as opposed to more Democratic measures. So it's being led by Representative Nancy Mace, a Republican from South Carolina, and it's titled the States Reforms Act, and it's currently being circulated among stakeholders. We're expecting the final version to be officially filed later this month, but it would federally deschedule cannabis and treat it in a manner similar to alcohol. I won't go over this entire thing just because a lot of the people on the channel have already seen it, but it would place a small excise tax on it that would help pay for some law enforcement and SBA loans to newly licensed businesses, as well as community reentry for people who may have been put in prison due to cannabis-related crimes. And you can actually see here, it says people with certain federal cannabis convictions that were nonviolent would be eligible for expungement. So it would actually be letting out of prison some people who were put in prison for non-violent cannabis-related crimes. So good stuff there. And it would also place a mandatory 21 age limit for recreational cannabis. So all in all, a good thing that we could potentially be looking at for Sundial stock, and not just Sundial stock, but all the cannabis stocks in general. And we'll really have to keep an eye on that catalyst looking forward, because it could certainly be moving us up in a big way. But as for Sundial as it stands right now, it looks like we are experiencing a little bit of a downtrend, maybe a little bit of a rebound we're on right now. Maybe we won't fill the gap all the way, but like you saw, 9 out of 10 gaps get filled, 91% of them get filled. So we'll see what happens with Sundial. It's not guaranteed that it'll happen today. It might happen tomorrow. It might not happen at all if it's that 1 in 10, but Tomorrow is looking to be like a potential really good day for Sundial, especially if the management ends up doing a share buyback, which is what we're really hoping for. So other than that, guys, that's pretty much what I have for you in this video. If you've enjoyed it, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and note that none of this is financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy Sundial. I'm not telling you to sell it. I'm not telling you anything about it. I'm just giving you guys my opinion on it. And you can take that with a grain of salt. You can take it as you will, but it's not financial advice. So other than that, guys, hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.